Hello, I'm Barry Gordon.
And I'm Andre Coleman.
And this is the NewsRap Live at 5 Election Special.
This is it.
Special.
This is it.
Well, this is a special show. I'm really excited about this. We have a wonderful guest who we'll be introducing in a little bit.
That's right. That's right. This is kind of a special.
A special. And this is the Friday before Election Day, folks. And I don't think, everyone always says this is the most important or the most consequential election
Every time.
of someone's lifetime.
Every time.
And I'm going to hit 70 in December. And so
You're going to be 70?
I'm going to be 70.
You look pretty good, man.
In December. Thank you. And I have to tell you, this is the most consequential election of my lifetime.
This is the one.
And it truly, truly is. Because I think we're battling here for a way of life. I think we're battling for our very values as a country. And I have to tell you that, if this election goes in the direction that I don't want it to go in, and I'm sure, Dre, you don't want it to go in.
So you're saying if the Republicans win?
Yes, if the Republicans win, hold on to the House. That is only going to add fuel to an incredible fire that is burning.
Well, yeah, because then the public has co-signed.
That's right.
On the craziness and the drama.
And that fire, I think, will absolutely determine which direction this country goes in, just as the Brazil election did last week, just as other elections have happened across the world.
And I'm going to say this.
We're not immune. We are absolutely not immune.
I'm going to say this. We're not just co-signing on it for one election cycle. It could be decades before this is fixed, because then in 2020 and 24, the message will be to a candidate that you can do all these things, acquire a base, and the public will constantly co-sign on it and give you the stamp of approval.
That's right. I mean, you always like to feel that things are moving forward. You always like to feel that we're progress. That's the word progressive. That's right.
There you go. I set that up for you.
You did. I'm a progressive because I believe in progress. I think that things can get better. And the problem now that I see is that we're moving backward. And let me give you an example of how I think we're moving backward.
Okay.
I'm reading a book. I've talked about it for a couple of weeks now.
Every week, Barry has a different book.
Every week I've been talking. No, but I've been talking about this book. It's the Steve Kornacki book.
Okay.
He's on MSNBC. And he wrote a book called The Red and the Blue, where he's trying to explain, by using the 1990s as an historical base, how we've come to this point of what he calls political tribalism. And I think it's very true that we are at that point. He goes into great detail about a candidate in 1992 and 1996.
Now, this is interesting.
And this candidate, are we?
No, the candidate.
Okay. So
This candidate
got totally derailed. Okay. No, this candidate talked about making America great again. He talked about building, he didn't use the term wall, building a security fence across the entire southern border. America first, anti-trade, wanted to pull out of the WTO, dealt with white supremacists, was endorsed by David Duke. Does any of this sound familiar?
And now what year is this?
1992 and 1996. And this man was not Donald Trump. This man was Pat Buchanan. And Pat Buchanan, at that time, really lit a fire. He didn't win because he was seen as too extreme.
And it wasn't acceptable.
For the American people, and that it was not acceptable.
Okay. So, but you said
we have Pat Buchanan in the White House right now.
But you said
he's wearing a silly wig
and
an orange face, and he's calling himself Donald Trump.
I want to make a point, though. You said we're going backwards, but he didn't win. So how did we get backwards?
because now he can win? That's backwards.
Or he came forward. I'm going to make a different point for you. I do think we're going backwards. But I don't think all of us went backwards. I think for some of us, we've always seen society as racist.
Yeah.
We've always seen society as not equal. We've always known that there was sexism. And so you hear a lot about this is the worst it's ever been. Mm-hmm. But it really kind of depends on the life you've lived or where you are in society.
That's true.
So I think for the ruling class, it's a place where you've never been before. But I think for minorities, and I can't speak for women, but I think for minorities, we're kind of going, we told you that there were issues here. And now the issues are in your face. And again, what are you going to do about it? And that's what this election is to me. Right. What are you going to do about it?
No, I agree with that. I completely agree with that.
So now is the time to change it.
And it is in our face.
It's right in your face.
Where before, though, when it was in our face, there were enough people who stood up and said, no, this is not what America is about.
Unacceptable.
That's why I say we're going backwards.
No, and you are correct. I just said coming forward because that group of hate mongers came forward.
That's right. And we have to, well, let's talk about hate. I mean, every party, and let's face it, this is a very nationalized election. What do we mean by that? That even though there are local candidates on the ballot, people have at their top of mind national issues. They want to think about how it's going to affect the country, how it's going to affect the Congress, how it's going to affect the presidency, even though we're not voting for the president.
Right. And a school board candidate could be connected to Trump.
Exactly. And so there really is a battle between two ways of life, if you will. And one is a way of life that sees the change happening, sees demographic change, sees all kinds of changes, and thinks that they are pretty good and wants to be able to support that. And then you have a group that says, no, we're going to, man the barricades, mm-hmm. and we're going to try to do everything we can to keep it from changing, to keep it from happening. And so every party has a closing argument. It's called a closing argument. It's what they want to leave the voters with. So I thought it might be interesting to show what the Republican Party, in the face of Donald Trump, because he put this on his Twitter feed, what the Republican Party and what the Democratic Party are doing as their closing argument.
And this is what you, the jury,
that's right,
gets to hear before you vote.
Exactly right. So let's start with the Trump clip, which he actually tweeted.
The jury, please step out of the hallway.
They're freaking dead. So fucking break out soon, kill more. See, the only thing if I get dead is if I can just kill two. I wish I could kill more of those motherfuckers. Kill more cops soon.
He says he wants to apply for pardon for the felony he committed. Attempt of murder.
Now, if I heard correctly, it was Bush who let this guy back in the country, but they said Obama did.
No, they fact-checked it. He was kicked out of the country by the Clinton administration. He was deported, came back in 2001 under the first year of Bush.
And the other thing
and
about
I'm
that,
sure it wasn't Bush. I mean, I'm sure Bush didn't say, hey, let's have this guy back in the country.
Right. But even if you have to go that far back.
It's still a lie. It's a
and look how
lie.
far back you have to go. Look how far back they're going to try to connect this to the Democrats. Mm-hmm. That in itself.
So let's look at the Democratic closing argument, and then I want to make a comment about both of them.
Okay.
If I had lost my medicine, I don't know what I would ever do. That would lead me to death, and I don't understand why people would think to do that.
When I see them on TV taking kids away from their parents. It's scary.
I heard if you zigzag when you run, like, the shooter's less likely to shoot you. So I've always been thinking, like, if a shooter ever comes into a classroom, like, I would, like, run through the back door and, like, zigzag out of the school. So, like, I think about that on a daily basis.
I think it is patriotic to protest.
My dad had a car wreck, and the doctor gave him pain pills, and he just got really addicted to them. So he wasn't there for 4 of my birthdays. I feel pretty bad about people taking away my health care. I'm one of those sick people that you're trying to take medicine away. Oh, hello. My name is Ruben, and I am 11 years old.
We need politicians that are actually going to do something about it.
But I can't vote.
I can't vote.
I can't vote.
I can't vote.
So vote for me.
Vote for me.
For me.
For me.
So vote for me.
What do they both have in common?
Fear.
Absolutely. They're both trying to scare the hell out of it.
And it worked, didn't it?
It is
does.
working. It is definitely working. And you know, I think that the Democratic ad is more truthful based on the votes that have happened in Congress.
And the second one pulls on my heartstrings, definitely.
Of
when you hear
course.
about children losing their medicine.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? Let's be real. That one's manipulative also because you knew exactly which child they were going to end on. Let's just be real. You knew exactly which child was going to be get the last word.
You did. And it's definitely not voting on optimism.
No.
But
you know what, Barry? People do not, and I know where you're going. I'm going to jump there a little bit before you.
Sure.
People don't vote based on optimism.
No, they don't.
I've done that one time. My first election was Reagan-Mondale, so there was no optimism there at all, no matter which way you looked at it. But when I voted for Barack Obama, I was fully into the hope and change mantra like most people in the country.
That's right.
But come on, voting for John Kerry, I wasn't really excited. It was just, we got to stop George W. Bush.
Yeah.
Completely. That's where I was with it. Even part of the vote for Obama was McCain's going to put us in a war if he gets elected, and Palin's an idiot, so I definitely couldn't have that. Mm-hmm. Let's just be honest. So I think every time we vote, there's some fear behind what if my side loses.
A lot. I think so. Although, you know, we have some great people to vote for. Congressman Adam Schiff
Friend of the
has
show.
been doing some great things, and he's a friend of the show, and we had a chance to interview him early on in our run. I think it was like the third or maybe the second episode that we had. And that would be a positive vote. That would be a vote not against someone. That would be a vote to tell Adam that, you know, he's doing great and keep it going.
They're still mixed in with some fear of what if we don't stop this guy?
Well, it's all mixed in with
a lot of fear
with Trump. Yes.
There's a lot of that right there of what if we can't take the House? What if
now Michael Cohen has come forward, whether he's credible or not, but he's come forward and said, you know, this man's been a racist ever since he's known him. So
not only do I think that's credible, I think that he may have wasted his breath because I don't think anybody doesn't know that.
I think that's probably true
already.
I want to, first of all, urge you to call or comment on Facebook. We actually have a comment or two to address, but our phone number is 626-794-8585. That's 626-794-8585 if you want to call in. But if you're shy, then post on Facebook, and we'll be glad to deal with your comments. But I want to throw a question out to you.
Okay.
And maybe we can get you to address it. If you're planning on voting on Tuesday, I'd like to know why. Just very briefly, why do you feel it's important to vote in this election? And if you're not planning on voting on Tuesday, I'd also like to know why you don't think it's important to vote, or why you have other priorities, or why
you're not voting.
You've made that decision.
Looks
Okay.
like we got a comment.
We do. You want to read it for us?
Okay, from Rashid. Is it accurate to say that President Obama shocked the system and now the Republican base wants to get it back, essentially halt the progress that has been made?
Well,
Yes.
I don't think he shocked the system. I mean, I think
Oh, he easily shocked the system
just by being Obama.
just by being black.
That's exactly right. But I mean, I don't know what the what do they want to get back? They got a white guy in the White House. So, I mean, what else do they want back?
It's not that simple.
I mean, I don't think the system has been shocked by Obama.
The system was shocked. Let me tell you why the system was shocked. He didn't just win. The number of young people who put him in office
That's true.
was a shock to that system.
That's true.
The number of people he reached through social media, which was kind of just burgeoning at that time, was somewhat of a shock.
Right.
And he was a rock star candidate.
That he was.
I won't say rock star president, but he was a rock star candidate. Now, here's the part where they want to get it back. Time and time again, when they tried to stop him, the number of times they tried to repeal Obamacare while he was still in office, they could not succeed at those things.
Mm-hmm.
So now, I mean, even Trump Jr. and Trump have said, yes, reverse everything he's done. So they're trying to take the system back. And remember, all of the Tea Party, it's time to take our country back.
Yeah.
So early on, that was the idea. I never agreed with the mantra because obviously he never owned the country.
No, he didn't own the country, and he wasn't a radical president.
Right.
He was a pretty center-left
No,
president.
definitely
So,
center.
well, Rashid, I agree with Dre.
There you go.
You convinced me. Jared, okay, and then we'll go to a break. This isn't new. Obama deported almost 3 million people and established child prisons in Texas. The caravan of refugees is a direct result of the 2009 Honduras coup and continual economic warfare that Obama and Clinton were major instigators of. Open the borders and let all the refugees in.
I only vote for candidates that don't take corporate
Okay.
donations. So he doesn't plan to vote at all because everybody takes corporate
No,
donations.
not everyone does. Beto O'Rourke, I don't think, is taking corporate donations.
He may not know he is, but somewhere he is. Somebody's always passing money through somebody else. It's just what the system does. I don't believe anybody gets there without taking some corporate donations. We can pick this back
I
up.
think you're cynical. We'll pick this up after the break.
Of course I am.
Yes. All right. We will pick it up after the break. Here we go. Before we kill them and eat them. All right.
Did that say?
I
farm
don't know
animals
if
should
that was
outgrow
on the
living
air.
space?
I just,
Did that say farm animals?
Yes,
And
it's,
then Barry
that's
goes,
Prop
of course,
12.
yes.
I think Prop 12, right? Should
Vote
farm
no
animals
on
have
farm
more
animals.
living
Yeah.
space? And
Vote-
I just said yes before we kill them and eat them. They should be comfy.
Yeah, that would have to come up right before I have to come back on the air.
I know. So you just saw a lot of great graphics.
That's right.
From our wonderful producers. And it reminds you, that not all politics is national.
That's right.
And as a matter of fact, there are some measures that you get to vote on. You actually get to vote on stuff, kind of like, Athens got to do in ancient
right
Greece.
Here, and this
they sat there and they actually voted on stuff.
And this is stuff right here at home.
Right, and you get to do that. And, you might be home right now smoking weed legally, and you wouldn't be able to do that if someone hadn't voted to allow you to do that. So, and there are other things that we voted on, some very bad things that we have voted on in the past, like discrimination and anti-immigrant measures.
Yeah.
So it's important that you go out and make your voice heard. And we're going to kind of help you do that right now, Dre.
So, please join us in welcoming our special guest this week. She is a volunteer with the League of Women Voters. I was going to give her a lazy introduction, let her talk about herself, but I'm going to do it all here. And she has been a member of several city commissions. Please join me in welcoming Felicia Williams.
Hello, really glad to be here again. I love being on KPAS, and I really like your show. So as a commissioner and a public servant, my job is to listen to the people. Sure. So what you'll get a lot of here is what are the questions people are asking and what is difficult for them on the ballot. And so I try to provide information and listen to people to get what their concerns are.
Now, when you just said that you listen, half the viewers fell over because they're going, somebody on NewsRap that listens.
I'll do the listening.
Okay.
Okay. Well, actually, before we get into what you were going to talk about, we actually have a question, and I think it's made for you, which is from Gus Stock, and it says, Proposition, I lost it, but basically they were saying that when he reads it, Proposition 8 looks like it's meant to help dialysis patients, but all of the ads that he sees say otherwise. So what is Proposition 8, and will it really help people with dialysis?
So Proposition 8, my take on it, it's a fight between the unions and the private dialysis companies. And I just don't know as a voter why I should be involved in that fight. They've tried to go to the legislature over and over. Who puts it on the ballot is really important. That's probably the number one thing I look at. Did the legislature put this here, or who actually put this here?
And you can see all of that in the guide.
Yeah, actually, it's very hard to find. It is very hard to find, even when you look at them qualifying. So I actually did it, and I found it for all the ballot measures. And generally, the ones that the legislature puts on there, I'm pretty comfortable with, because we elected them.
Yeah.
But when you have 11 and 8, I think a lot of people get confused because private companies have put them there, or unions have put them there, and it makes people confused. So that's kind of how those break out. But
so the union put 8 on the ballot?
Yes.
Now,
and SEIU.
So how does it affect, I'm pro-union, but how does that affect the unions?
My understanding is they put it on the ballot in an effort to help move the dialysis center employees to unionization. Because if you look at the way the costs are split up, the dialysis centers are capped on what they can spend for technology, phones, et cetera, but they can spend as much as they want on employees. And so it encourages them to hire more employees, and therefore there's sort of a bigger pool of employees, which is a good thing, but that also, could potentially help the unions because there are more people that could possibly be unionized. So it really has been a battle between them for years, and it's difficult as voters for us to tell what we should be doing here.
Is there a bad thing? You said that actually having more employees might be a good thing, and then a side benefit would be that they would possibly be unionized. And
yeah.
So what might the negatives be on Prop 8?
So I think the negative is that it's a little bit arbitrary how they assign the costs. So you could have a situation where dialysis centers will cut service, or they won't cover certain people. And so it could affect dialysis services, which are necessary to keep people alive.
Right.
It's very essential.
So now to do a piece of business, these are your own opinions,
Yes,
and not the opinions
yes,
of the
yes. So
League of
these are
Women
my
Voters.
opinions, and based on a lot of research that
Okay.
I've done on the
Right.
on the ballot measures. Yes.
Right. And you are not speaking for the, we'll make that very clear. You are
Yes.
not speaking for the League of Women Voters today.
Or the city.
Or the
Correct.
city.
Okay, got it.
That's right.
Yes.
Just
Just
for
as a
Felicia.
voter trying to educate myself.
Just for Felicia. What do you think the other controversial measures are going to be on the ballot? Obviously, 10 is pretty controversial.
Yeah, 10 is a big one. 8 and 10, I think, are the two biggest ones. And just FYI, 8, they have spent more money than on all of the other ballot measures combined.
On 8?
And 8.
Yeah.
Yes, it's something like $150
Oh, you
million. I mean, it's
can't
huge.
turn on television,
Yeah.
and it's the no side that spent so much of the money.
Yeah.
Because you see, I'm on dialysis, and this is going to destroy me if this passes. I
Yeah.
mean, so.
But I would say the other ones, Prop 5 is a little bit of a sleeper, but it has to do with property tax.
Yeah.
And so that, I mean, some people the Association of Realtors put it on there.
That's the new-
So it's changing the property tax rules. So
That's the new
people
Prop 13 is what you're
can
calling
sell. It's or maybe Prop 13.
Kind of a redux.
Light.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another one that a lot of people ask about. I think, but for a lot of people, I think it kind of makes sense and it resonates. So I'm hearing a lot of positive response
Really?
On Prop 5.
But they're not thinking about how that might affect school revenues, although we do.
Our local revenues, exactly.
But we do have 95, what is it, 95? That keeps, in other words, that
At a
says that
certain
the
level.
state has to keep
Exactly.
it at a
So
certain
then it
level.
would go to the state to backfill all of that.
Yeah.
So.
And they'll have to take it away from other things.
Exactly. So there's that.
Yeah.
Prop 6. Prop 6, I think, has gotten a lot of coverage, and that is so some people call it repeal the gas tax. Some people call it keep transportation funding. So that there's a naming
There you go.
thing there that gets people. But I think two things to point out. A lot of what I've heard on Prop 6. Is one, the Gold Line extension is being funded through SB1. So that is something very,
a lot of projects.
So that is something very big that affects us here in the San Gabriel
Right.
Valley. 2, there's a portion of SB1 that goes to high-speed rail that some people don't like. And so it depends on, a lot of people think if we have a new governor, high-speed
Right.
rail will change. So for those people who are concerned that it's going to high-speed rail, that may change. They can reallocate the funding for SB1. So I think those are some of the questions that I've
So
gotten
people
about.
think that Newsom is going to take a different approach than Brown? Because it's definitely going to be Newsom. I mean, I think.
Well, I agree.
I don't quite know
that's my vote.
why that would change that much.
That's
so,
my vote. I don't see
what
that
is he,
changing.
25 points ahead or
Yeah.
something? I mean,
So some people
And
are
it's a
guessing.
nail-biter.
Yeah, right. So some people are guessing that Newsom would not support the high-speed rail.
Oh, really?
So they would think the money would be reallocated.
Interesting.
Looks like we have another comment.
We do. We have a question about Prop
ambulance.
11.
Rashid's hanging out.
That's an interesting one. Private ambulance companies.
Versus the
Yes.
individual worker.
I thought that had to do with like taking breaks or something.
I didn't really see a question in
They
there.
have to be on call when
Yeah.
they're taking a break
Yeah.
or something
Well, I
like
think
that.
they're relating it back to Prop 8, which is sort of the unions versus the employees versus the companies. Prop 11 is a little bit different because what we have now is city paramedics have working breaks, but private ambulance companies don't. So there's a little bit of unevenness.
so try to
it
build a
kind of
balance.
it sort of makes it a little more even. So I think most people I talk to are pretty. They realize that these working breaks are pretty standard, and so I think a lot of people.
So the
that's a lot
side with
easier.
the side with the turn off the radio, you're on a full break, loses that,
Mm-hmm.
and they come back to radio on during the break, respond to emergency.
Exactly, but they change their shifts
The
so that
structure.
it allows
Right.
them to
Okay.
do that.
Okay.
Okay, so it kind of levels the playing field between private companies and city companies.
Yes, exactly.
fire
Because
department, yeah.
so they can all cover the same areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then,
Okay. And we have another one.
Mm-hmm.
How does Prop 5 affect
55
and older?
So those who are 55 and older, we have existing rules that we approved in the 1980s
Right.
that allows, if you're 55 or older, you have a severe disability or you're the victim of a natural disaster like a wildfire, you can buy a home of lesser value in certain counties, Los Angeles is one of them, so you have to stay within the county, and you pay less property tax because your property tax doesn't go up. So what Prop 5 does is it expands this so you can buy a home that's more expensive or less expensive, and you can do it statewide,
okay.
and you can do it more than once. So the previous rules only allowed you to do it once. So it would allow people in homes, if they have a very large home, they could now sell it, downsize, they would pay lower taxes. They could sell it and move to another place because home prices are so high now.
Right.
They may pay more for a home, but they won't have as much of an increase, and they can do it statewide.
She's on these things, man. She knows her business. Look at this.
So where do you think the sentiment is leaning on 5?
On 5, it's interesting. I hear positive things about 5. So I don't hear, and you don't really see a lot of the ads too much. So it seems to be a little bit of a sleeper, but it'll be interesting to see where it comes out.
Cool.
So
5 is going to be interesting because it has that T word in there, taxes. And whenever people hear that, there's an immediate negative reaction before they get the education, and some people will hang on to the negative reaction even after they get the education on the issue. So that's why when I see that one, whenever I hear tax,
6, Prop 6,
the local I&J, you automatically just go.
Well, that's a good segue because the word tax, of course, is what everyone
Bring it
has
home.
on their mind in the city with measures I and J. And I mean, I think there's no question that the city needs the money, but there's also real question when it regards to the piece that the schools get. And
So
is that become the sticking point?
So, well, that's why they're separate measures. They separated them so it wouldn't become a
Right.
special tax. Otherwise, that would require 2/3 vote. But I think there isn't a question whether the city needs the money. It's what is the city going to spend it on, and have they been transparent about that? That's the question that I usually get. The way that some people are framing it is that either the city gets the increase or the county gets the increase. But some more questions have come up. You know, would the county just leave that space there? Would they actually issue some sort of measure? And another question has come up: why doesn't the city wait and do this in 2020? After they've sort of shown where the money would go and other things. I mean, they need the money now.
In 2020,
yes,
and
exactly.
all their seats will be up.
Yeah, but they also need the money now for the future budget years. So that's another. It's a local one here that is really important. And you know what? With our new ballots, you can actually start at the back of the ballot and move your way forward. That's what I did.
Right.
So I started at the back with the local issue because that really.
So voter
affects our
fatigue may not
lives.
be the issue that. Because at one point, they thought that 15% of the people wouldn't finish their ballot. And 15% in an election like this.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot of votes to lose. That's a lot of votes to lose.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's going to be, we're going to either be talking about the morning after, when they win, or what comes next if they lose, meaning the city.
Yeah. We actually have an answer to one of my questions, why people don't vote. And Jared says, not voting is a sane position, and I respect people that don't vote. For most people, the material conditions of their lives don't change no matter whom is in power. The Democrats and Republicans express power in largely the same ways. Significant social issues shore up their base, with difference in rhetoric and window dressing. Why consent to this mass disenfranchisement, electoral fraud, and the absence of candidates? He's taking over the show.
I know.
That represent the real, most pressing
like he's running for
concerns
something.
of the people. Or away from something, I don't know. Ballot measures are important, but as far as candidates go, we largely only ever get corporate-selected goons that are working for the 1%. Oh, come on, Jared.
So let me ask Jared this. Do you vote in local city council elections where you live and local school district elections? Because those can, in fact, change your life.
Yeah.
So if you're still there, answer that question, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
But no soliloquy this time.
And see if your life changes if Trump gets us into a war.
Yeah.
Might. Could. See if your
Will.
life changes if, he gets us into a nuclear war.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my life has changed as a woman.
That's exactly right.
There you go.
Exactly right. See if your life changes in 20 years, because you're a young guy, because I know who you are. So see if your life changes in 20 years when nothing whatsoever is done about climate change.
If the city gets stop and frisk reinstated like he said he would, and you have an African-American son like I do,
yeah.
See how many nights you lay awake worrying about encounters with the police and things like that. And so he says he does vote in local elections. It said, yes, I do. So I'm going to assume he does vote in local elections.
Good.
So why do you vote in local elections? One sentence. But I think you had great points there when you talked about all the things that could change.
Exactly.
Because elections matter. They do have consequences.
Yes, they do.
They very much do. And, hey, look.
There was a fellow once named Abraham Lincoln.
There you go.
And that was a fairly big consequence.
Yeah. Well,
if Stephen Douglas had won that election, life would have been very, very different. Maybe there wouldn't have been a war.
There it is.
But the people who I'm sitting with here may not be sitting here.
Well, we wouldn't be able to sit here. And this is what, last week when we closed, I said I never vote based on the economy.
Right.
And that's the point, is that in the South, what was the message when people said in slavery? It will impact our dollars.
Right.
It will impact our economy.
Exactly.
So you can't just go, hey, people are making money, keep things status quo. There are more things at stake than that.
Right.
That's not the point. So you're talking about I&J.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I&J. So, and I haven't seen any polling numbers on it recently, but you see the city is making a pretty big effort to explain where the money's going. I mean, that's a big question people have. What will the money go towards? What are we preserving? That sort of thing. So those are the kinds of questions that I get.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think
And Jared was trying to be contrarian because he just said, I always vote, it's fun.
So do you think...
that's Eric. That's Eric who said that. I always
Eric
vote,
votes.
it is fun. Good for you, Eric.
It is fun.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to go to a 2-minute
we have a clip on I.
On Measure I.
What is Measure I? In July, the Pasadena City Council unanimously placed the Pasadena Infrastructure/Community Essential Services Protection Measure I on the November 6th ballot. If enacted, Measure I will provide a locally controlled funding source to address community priorities identified by the public, such as maintaining fire, police, and paramedic services and 911 response times, repairing streets and sidewalks, keeping fire stations open and upgraded, improving neighborhood and school safety, maintaining after-school and senior programs, and addressing homelessness. How does Measure I improve fire safety? Engineers have said that in a major earthquake, Pasadena's aging fire stations would likely be rendered inoperable, crippling the ability of first responders to address major medical emergencies, search, and rescue. If enacted, Measure I provides funding to repair and upgrade aging fire stations, bridges, and city emergency shelters to meet current seismic safety standards, better preparing our city for disasters. What are other infrastructure needs addressed by Measure I? The city of Pasadena is 132 years old and has aging infrastructure which needs to be repaired and upgraded. Measure I funds upgrades to deteriorating city streets and sidewalks before it costs taxpayers more in the long term. How does Measure I address homelessness? Pasadena now has one of the largest homeless populations in the San Gabriel Valley, and homelessness has increased 18% from 2017. If enacted, Measure I provides funding to address mental health, substance abuse, and job training to respectfully help individuals, veterans, and families with young children transition away from and stay off the street while ensuring business districts, parks, and public areas are safe and secure for everyone.
Real quick, bring up that prioritized list of, it was a poll on what people consider priorities
I don't know if they can do that.
I don't know if they can go back to it. But if they, wow, time travel. But the key I wanted to mention was at the very bottom, local citizens polled.
Yeah.
What they prioritized the least was helping schools. At the top, obviously, was public safety, which is important.
Right.
But homelessness came in, there it is. So what do we got? 911 emergency response times.
Homelessness is third. Yeah.
Homelessness is third. Health services is after streets and roads. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And then we go to schools, after school programs, and youth programs. And that comes back to Measure J, which is the advisory part of I. But
And those are the bottom three.
Those are the bottom three. Now, what's amazing is when the mayor said this at the State of the City, when he first said, hey, I'm going to ask for this tax increase, and part of the money would go to the schools, I thought, shooting fish in a barrel. Everybody wants to help the schools. But that has become one of the points where people don't seem to trust the schools. Is that what you're getting? I know that's what I'm getting at the paper, but is that what you're getting?
Actually, so I think what you're getting at the paper is a lot of what I've heard. But the second part, I think a lot of people have difficulty, and that survey is a little bit odd because the city and the school district are separate entities. So that's usually the question I get. Well, if we're giving sales tax to the city, then why are we giving our sales tax to Altadena and Sierra Madre because they're part of the school district? The school district is separate and they should be able to survive on their own. So I've gotten some questions like that. Santa Monica has had this structure. They did this and they have this structure where they move the money back and forth. So it's been done before. But that's, I think more of the question is that when people think of city sales tax, they don't think of it going to schools. And to me, that's why that was at the bottom. I don't think it's because people don't value our schools. I think it's that people just didn't connect. That's how I voted on it when I did this.
I'm going to completely disagree with you, and I'm going to say that people just don't trust the people running the schools.
That's separate. That's a separate
and that's
issue.
a big part of it. But let's go to a quick clip.
What is Measure J? Why two measures? If enacted, Measure I generates approximately $21 million annually in locally controlled funding that can't be taken by the state. Measure J is a companion advisory measure suggesting spending priorities should Measure I be adopted. How do these measures help children? Measures I and J help support more than 18,000 Pasadena students with continued funding for city-run children and youth after-school, summer, and physical fitness programs. Supporting quality, public neighborhood schools was also a priority identified by the public that would be addressed by these measures.
Okay, so Emmanuel says no on I and yes on J. I don't think
it doesn't work
that's
that
going to
way
work.
because I funds J.
Right.
So if you don't pass the tax, no money to the schools.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Whoever said Emmanuel for president underneath that, rethink it.
Yeah, they're not two separate tax measures.
Right.
In other words, all that Jay says is that you can reroute some of that money if I pass
It's
it.
the advisory part of Jay. There's a couple of comments that came through as we've been going through. So if we can get those back up there, we can probably hit a couple of them now.
Well, one was a question, which is an interesting question. Is there a financial impact to Proposition 7?
Yep.
Which isn't that the daylight savings
That's
time
my favorite
measure,
ballot
right?
measure. And you know what? On Sunday, after you go through it and you sleep all day and you have no idea where you are on Monday, you're going to want to vote yes on Prop 7. That's all I'm saying. They timed it perfectly.
Yeah, they did.
I don't think there's a financial impact. They say that people get into more car accidents and there are more heart attacks because you're changing someone's circadian rhythms and it's difficult for them to wake up if they already have health problems. So supposedly there should be a health impact, a positive health impact if we stop switching our clocks. That would be the only financial benefit I could see. That was why the legislature put it on there, was for health reasons.
So just so that I understand 7, because I don't know if I do understand 7.
I
really
got
don't understand
7
it
for
now.
you.
Because I know 7, right, it's going to take some kind of act of Congress, isn't it?
Yes, so the 7 has an odd title because it says permanent daylight savings, and it's actually permanent standard time because permanent daylight savings is illegal right now. So it switches us to standard time so we don't switch back and forth like Arizona and Hawaii. Okay, so they're on standard time all year round.
All year round, yeah.
Then
I know it
the
drives me crazy because my
legislature-
wife goes to Hawaii all the time, and my grandkids are in Hawaii, and my son and daughter-in-law, and sometimes it's 2 hours difference, and sometimes it's 3 hours difference,
See,
and
then there'll be no difference.
makes me absolutely
Yes.
nuts.
So then the legislature would have to vote to go into permanent daylight savings, and then with that vote, they would have to ask Congress to amend federal law to allow us to go into the daylight savings.
I really don't care about this one.
That's very remote. So you're voting for a standard time.
So if it passes,
You're voting
then
for
it
standard
would
time.
be permanent standard time.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is one of those ones I don't care about. I don't know why somebody spent all this money to put this
So
on
it
there.
will get dark, earlier
they didn't spend
in the
money.
summer.
It's the legislature. This legislature
right.
voted, and we have to repeal
right.
the initiative that allowed us to go into daylight savings. So that's why it's on
Keep
there.
doing
It's
it the way we've been
formality.
doing it. You change your clock a couple of times a year, you're fine. Nobody has a clock in their house
I'm
anyway.
going to call you 6
happens,
a.m. Sunday.
And it happens automatically now because you got a doggone cell phone and a cable box.
But in the summer, you'll have an hour less light, right?
What, are you going to a club or something? I mean,
No,
it's
I'm
the same
just
thing it's
saying.
always been.
No, it'll be, instead
He
of
walks
being a
his
light
dog.
at 8 o'clock, it
He
won't
walks
be.
his dog.
All right, let's go to the comments.
Okay.
Emmanuel says, no PUSD school looks that clean. Give them some money, maybe they can clean them up. Charles, any hidden language in these we need to know about?
Oh, so you were talking about farm animals.
Yes.
So the farm animal thing, we passed this like in 2008 to have cage-free animals, and what they're doing is they're clarifying it, but there's an addition. We now could not import eggs and meat from other states if they don't have the same standards that we do. That's very different. That is very new. And some people are concerned about that because that could really raise the cost.
And eggs
of
and meat
and
cause heart
eggs.
attacks, which comes back to the time zone.
See, exactly. But see?
All right, scroll up. Let's.
Circadian rhythms.
Yeah, I'm worried about my circadian rhythm.
See, Jared, it does matter.
Voting matters.
Your eggs,
The farm
your
animals.
meat,
Who's
your-
gonna
your
save the farm
animals and the time and the circadian everything. It matters. It matters. Go ahead. So, do we have any more comments? Oh, okay.
So we didn't know PUSD.
No, I think that's it.
we're all caught up.
I think we're caught up. One of the things I want to talk about before we go are judges.
Okay.
Because,
This is important here.
every election we get that ballot and we get all of those names that, and I'm a lawyer and I don't know those people. And, most of them, a couple, I
know one
might
of them.
know. And I guess I got to ask this question. Why the heck do we vote for judges? I mean, who started that? Why do we have to do it? There are other states that don't do it. They have a merit selection system
It makes
where
no
a
sense.
committee,
Yeah.
of well-known. Oh my gosh, are these all the people that are on the ballot?
These are all the judges.
Wow.
Whoa.
Now, can you name one of those people?
Leandra Kruger.
Can you name one of them, Barry? No.
No is the answer.
Who did you name?
Yeah.
Leandra is Superior.
Okay, I can name Leandra Cougar.
Yeah, not by face.
She's from Pasadena.
I
She's
couldn't
from
name her
Pasadena.
before you said it.
She's one of our people.
But how do you vote for these people is the question. I mean, you can't look up the record. You don't know what cases they've done before.
No, I mean, it would drive you crazy. I mean, you'd have to go in and you'd have to Google. Well, I guess you Google them. You go to Google Scholar, and
Put that
you
comment
would
back up.
go to case law. You would go to Google Scholar and you'd hit case law, and then you would, basically put their name in, and you will get everyone else's name who's Kruger.
I will tell you.
I mean, everyone
I will
else's
admit.
name.
I will admit to you how I've done it in the past.
Yeah.
I have voted for people if they had an ethnic sounding name.
I've done that too.
For the sake of diversity.
I've done that too. I voted for women.
I voted for women.
But there are some pretty, hanging judge women out there.
You know what I'm
too.
talking about? Last time I had to pay a ticket, I was left standing there wondering if I voted for her.
Yeah.
So, you don't know. And
No, it's a ridiculous system. It
Get a
really
load of
is.
this comment.
Let's get a ballot
other
measure to
states,
change
only
it.
20
Yes.
states.
And the time zones.
Only 20 states require.
Can you believe this comment?
Are you going to let me talk?
I'm-
Only 20 states require judges to be either elected or confirmed. We do. By the way, in ours we confirm them. Don't get confused. You're not picking people out of whole cloth. They've been appointed by the governor if they're in the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeals. And then all we're doing is confirming them. But it's ridiculous.
And now for
I mean,
that,
it's a
I'm
silly
going to let
idea.
you read the comment about AIDS and chlamydia
You're gonna
since
make
you want to
me-
talk.
You're
Go
going to
ahead.
make me read Rashid's
Yeah,
comment.
you want to talk, so go ahead.
Kevin De Leon versus Dianne Feinstein is like choosing between AIDS and chlamydia. Okay, I didn't say that.
You just did.
I didn't say that.
I don't know what Rashid's tripping off of, but that whole Rashid for president thing,
It's
that thing's going up
probably
in
the
smoke.
legal marijuana that
Exactly.
we all voted to do.
Yeah. That thing is going up in smoke. Rashid for president every quicker and quicker over here.
No, it was Emmanuel for president.
Oh.
No one wants Rashid to be president.
He's running on the other ticket.
Right.
So,
all right.
Well, let's get into it. De Leon, Feinstein. Go. Pick one.
Feinstein.
Pick one.
De Leon.
De Leon. Governor.
And there's only...
Do we get reasons?
And there's only one reason why I voted for De Leon.
Yeah.
Reason.
It's just I want to send a message. I just want to. I know
What's the message?
She's going to win.
What's the message?
She should go. It's time to go.
Okay.
It really is. I think she badly blew the Blasey Ford situation, and I just think it's time for some new blood.
So the reason why I voted for Diane is I don't want to lose our seniority in the Senate at this time. We need it.
That's an excellent reason.
So
that's right.
I agree. I think that there are times when people have sort of lived out their
well, she would be the chair of Armed Services?
But she's so senior. That's what I'm worried about. And then Kamala's pretty junior still. So let's sort of get the. So anyway,
that's a very good point.
I think we have to. I think it's time for change, and I think we have to continuously get younger.
Yeah.
So
governor, no question, Newsom.
Newsom.
Yeah. Newsom.
All right. We don't have to give reasons on that one. I'm assuming.
Lieutenant. Where are you guys?
I voted for Hernandez. Yeah.
Eleni.
I haven't made my mind up yet.
Let's get another woman.
I haven't made my mind up yet. There. I voted for Schiff. I'm going Schiff.
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
Whoa, wow.
That's my guy.
You're walking out on an edge there.
Well, listen to this, Mr. De Leon, like it's a big deal, or Newsom, like you took some kind of chance. E-Dogs Productions, vote for Tony K. Thurman, State Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll go with
he's
that.
telling us to? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
I like him.
You got E-Dogs endorsement?
I did vote for one independent.
Who?
I voted for Poizner.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, I did.
I haven't even voted yet. I didn't vote early. I never voted early. I need to stand in line.
I think Poizner is well, I have a ballot, but I haven't mailed it.
Oh no, we can change
so
his mind.
it's marked, and then it's all marked. The circles are done,
You filled it
and
out.
then I'll take it. I'll take it to the.
See, I got to go to the polls.
I like to go to the polls on Tuesday.
Nobody's going to pull that voter's.
No, I voted for Poizner. I think he's done a very good job. He's a reformer. I think he's held the insurance companies a bit.
Oh, I'd like to know he's independent. He's independent now. So I
independent.
voted for him too.
Did you?
So he used to be registered as a Republican.
Right.
He's independent now.
Right.
But also because with his healthcare background, there's a lot of stuff. If we are going to keep the Affordable Care Act and covered California, we need someone who can manage that. And Laura's great, but he doesn't have a healthcare background.
Exactly. Oprah's waiting outside. Is she here yet?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oprah's outside. She out there? Oprah.
Well, what we want to do, because we're getting toward the end, believe it or not.
That was fast. That was a quick hour.
And the first thing I want to do is thank Felicia for joining us. Felicia Williams, you're just wonderful.
Great job.
And I hope you'll come back and join us again when we chat about things. And
she has a natural chemistry. She could fit right in a NewsRap at any given time.
That's right. She could be the listener.
I'll be the designated.
Because we need a listener.
She could be a host.
Yes, she could.
And I'm not leaving.
She could be a listening host.
So go to lavote.net for more information.
Absolutely. There's also Ballotpedia.
Yep.
And Voters Edge.
Voters Edge. Yes.
But the most important thing is, no matter how you do it, educate yourself and vote.
Yeah, too late to register, folks. So if you haven't done that,
this is it.
Wait till next time. But yeah, you've got to go vote, because really a lot is at stake in this election.
Everything.
And we don't want to be the last ones to tell you. We want to have a different person tell you. And so she made an incredible speech yesterday. It's 9 minutes long, but we took about 2 minutes from it. And we want you to hear this, and maybe this will motivate you to get your butts to the polls on Tuesday.
She can't do it.
I'm here today because, like a lot of young people, I didn't take voting seriously until around my mid-20s. And around my mid-20s, I had the privilege of hearing Reverend Otis Moss Jr., who's a preacher. Y'all know him? Preacher in Cleveland, Ohio. And I heard him tell the story of his father, of Otis Moss Sr., who right here in Georgia's Troup County got up in the morning and put on his only suit and his best tie and he walked 6 miles to the voting poll location he was told to go to in LaGrange. And when he got there, after walking 6 miles in his good suit and tie, they said, "Boy, you at the wrong place. You're at the wrong place. You need to go over to Mountville." So he walked another 6 miles to Mountville. And when he got there, they said, "Boy, you at the wrong place. You need to go to the Rosemont School." And I picture him walking from dawn to dusk in his suit, his feet tired, getting to the Rosemont School, and they say, "Boy, you too late. The polls are closed." And he never had a chance to vote. By the time the next election came around, he had died. So when I go to the polls and I cast my ballot, I cast it for a man I never knew. I cast it for Otis Moss Sr., who walked 18 miles one day just for the chance to vote. And when I go into the polls, I cast the vote for my grandmother, Hattie Mae Lee, who died in 1963 before the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and never had a chance to vote. I vote for her. And when I stand in the polls, I do what Maya Angelou says: I come as one, but I stand as 10,000.